Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Crossing the Streams. Oh my gosh, where we answer the universal question: what should I be binge watching next? I just finished something, and now I got to watch something else. We have come to the right place. We've got over 114 hours of binge watching suggestions on our YouTube channel, and here we are putting another hour into the record books. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Hey, how are you? I'm just
man.
Hello, everyone.
We got
setting up here.
We got the crew, and we got our guest, John Sullivan, who hasn't been with us in a while. In my head, it's only been a few weeks, but I think it's been longer. What's up, John?
Nice to see you, Johnny.
Very happy to be back. I feels like a few months, but it might be like almost a year or something I've been on.
I don't know because I did, but let's do the theme song. I'm sure you remember that, to the tune of the Brady Bunch. You only have to do the first part, then we'll pass it.
First part is in these first four lines, right?
Yes.
All right, kick it. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Bob.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff runs Sal and Bob, and there's Howard and Marcy. They call it Crossing Streams.
Marcy.
And then one day they went live on all platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we cross the streams.
Everybody.
We cross the streams.
We cross the streams.
We're losing everybody.
That's
the way we do it here. We cross the streams.
Ba-dum-bum. All right. Oh, man. Oh, we got...
Knocked it out of the park, man.
We have Marcy's brother, Aaron. Hey.
Hello, Aaron.
Marcy
Hi,
is a
Aaron.
rare find. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Don't make fun of your sister.
Thank you.
Jerry.
Jerry, how are you?
Hi,
How are you?
Jerry.
And Lee and Lee.
Lee.
Good to see you.
Oh, there's
How's it
Lisa.
going, Lee?
What's up, Lee?
Everybody.
Cheers.
Tonight.
Oh, and look, we got Fred, Carol.
Hey,
Fred.
Fred, haven't seen you in a while. Good evening.
Audrey. Hi, Audrey.
Oh, there. Oh, yeah, Audrey. Oh, we got Marcy's entire
Audrey, yes.
family is here. What's up,
Especially Marcy. I would agree with you, Audrey. She is obviously the best looking person on this panel.
One day I'm going to work into that song, but Bob actually put me in the song today. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna do it. I figured I was prepping everything. My wife's computer broke this week, so it threw off everything and we had to get her a new laptop and start from scratch and nothing. So it was I don't wish that on anyone, but anyway. It's all good. It's all good. So wait, we lost a legend. We lost a legend. We got Hannibal. We lost
buddy. Oh, thank you for putting that up there.
One of the best,
Bob's
man.
dog, greatest dog, internet sensation.
That was nice of you. Thank you.
cute.
Man.
The magnificent bear.
Yeah.
Magnificent. So all our love to you,
Great
Bob.
dog.
We know that.
Thank you.
The worst, but so many good years. But
Yes.
we also many good years with Tina Turner.
Tina Turner.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And,
Yes.
Not the most flattering picture you could have found of her, but that's all right.
But she's rocking it there. She's rocking it.
She is.
So can I just say that this one, yet again, I feel like this took another chunk out of my childhood. This was a big one for me. I absolutely adored Tina Turner. I've seen her in concert multiple times. I was absolutely fascinated by her life story. I had this thing about Beyond Thunderdome and We Don't Need Another Hero. And I think I've listened to that song 10,000 times, but it's just it's a big loss, and I'm sorry.
Anti-entity.
Yeah.
Legend.
I love the fact that every story about her led with the fact that she had to literally pick herself up out of the dirt after divorcing Ike Turner, who was a piece of garbage. And she reinvented herself and somehow became this juggernaut. She was worth $160 million at her death.
Wow.
And she sold 160 million albums. Isn't that crazy?
That's only
Jeez.
$1 an album. It's not
I
that great
know!
for Tina Turner.
Wow.
Crazy.
Think of
Yeah.
it, gee, it's $2 an album.
Well, that's what she was worth
Whatever.
at her death. She
I'm kidding.
had a nice life.
Yeah, she had some
Oh, really?
expensive
Oh.
children.
And I had no idea she lived most of her later life in Switzerland. She died in
Yeah.
Switzerland.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was
Well,
this one. Yeah.
Did you guys see the musical that they came out with about
No.
Tina's life?
Mm-mm.
I mean, yeah, that's where I learned all of that mostly.
Okay.
So good.
Who was
Yeah.
was the lead good? Did they play her well?
She was amazing. I saw the traveling tour actually here in Detroit, and I never got to see her live, but I kind of feel like I did now that because she did such a great job.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the end of the show turns into a concert. It's really cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
So-
I saw her once in concert. She was amazing.
I have no doubt.
High energy. The crowd just leaves
Simply the
that
best.
place.
You're right,
like,
Carmen.
exhausted.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to see
Yeah.
Tina Turner
She's simply
because you're
the
you're
best.
up clapping and
Oh.
jumping the whole
And
time.
thank you, Lee. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Aw,
We got. Oh wait, sorry, that was
so sad.
Thank you, Jerry.
Tina Turner.
Yeah. Sorry to have Hannibal intrude on the loss of a person, but he was kind of a person. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it at
It
that.
was.
Well, good thing they didn't die in the same day, and Tina would have gotten no coverage at all.
Not in my house, anyway.
You
Right.
can be thankful for that.
Anyway, so a legend.
Yeah.
2 legends this week. It was a rough week. Just I don't know if you guys. I'm not a review or anything, but I've been hit or miss on this season of Ted Lasso. Like some of them I love, and then some of them are like yesterday's Ted Lasso, or maybe it's today's Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
It usually comes out last night, but was probably one of the greatest episodes like of anything. I mean, it was like
Okay.
and it's coming. Every show I'm watching is ending. Like this one, Maisel ends tomorrow or Friday, and then Succession ends on Sunday. Succession is some of the best TV this season. I mean, it's like every time there's an episode, they're like, just hand these people Emmys. Like they're
Wow.
that good. They're that good. But yeah, Maisel's been solid.
Amazing.
Succession. I'm glad it's ending because I'm ready for it to end. But I love it. But there's only so much you can do the same exact thing over and over again. But yeah. So
I'm excited for Ted Lasso. I haven't caught up yet. I'm one episode behind, so I'm looking forward to. Now
How many total seasons of Ted Lasso is there?
just
3?
3.
Three
I'm
seasons.
gonna have to. I have never started, so. I'm
Oh
gonna-
yeah, you'll love it.
Oh,
But
you
it's-
need
Did you-
Kleenex for this one. I'm telling
Oh,
you.
You know,
No one died.
the lead, and I don't watch Succession. Brian, what's his last name?
Cox.
Cox.
Brian Cox. Did you know he was the first big screen Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah, he was in the Red Dragon or whatever.
Wow.
Frightening, yes.
Oh.
Frightening.
Wow, I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yes.
That's actually pretty good.
Thank you.
That's some weird and wacky stuff.
Car-
Sal.
No, it's interesting, man.
I'm in this weird thing right now where I'm
Manhunter,
actually I got to get into some new shows because I find myself I'm doing repeats now. Not because there's nothing to watch, just because there's so much good content that I just want to watch again.
Yeah.
So I have not jumped into Succession yet, Jeff. So I need to jump into that.
Oh, you haven't even watched it?
Oh,
I'm not.
I've only seen.
Oh my
4.
God,
I'm
Succession's
stuck.
so Succession's so good. When we were on vacation, we stopped and watched it.
That's a good show.
Speaking of new shows, so Six, we recently saw Six, the Broadway musical. It's about Henry the
Yep.
eighth, 6 wives, and so my wife is obsessed. She loves like the Crown and all that kind of stuff too. But so now she's watching The Tudors, which is
From
basically
Showtime?
on the old Showtime show.
Oh,
Yeah, but
that's
it
hot.
is. But it is about the 6 wives, Henry and the 6
Oh,
wives.
yeah.
So.
You know who's in that very early
I
on
see.
in his career is Henry Cavill.
Yeah, and the girl
Oh,
from,
okay.
who was in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
She was
She plays she
Sam
plays the
Al-
controversial one,
yeah,
right?
she's Anne Boleyn.
Anne Boleyn, right? Yes.
And
yes.
and so Sam Elliott's in it. There's a lot of big names in this. All right, well let's get to today's show. But last week, episode 114, we talked about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Marcy introduced her new segment where she talks about Broadway shows. This was Dixie's Tupperware Party. We talked about Narvik and The Diplomat. Today, we're talking about The Founder, Friends, Late Life, the Chien-ming story. I hope I said that right. Big George Foreman and Air. So we got some great stuff for you today. So let's, why don't we kick things off with a show that I don't know that a lot of people are familiar with.
God. What a find.
I loved it,
I
man.
can't believe how funny this show is.
Must see TV, man.
Have you ever heard of this? Friends? So good.
Yeah.
It streams on HBO. No, it streams on Max. So it's one of the good reason to bring
What?
this up.
It's not
We're
on
no
the
longer-
Friends channel?
No.
As of today,
So
it's
as
on
of today,
Max.
HBO Max is gone. So we all have to go to our Rokus and our phones and our Fire Sticks, and we need to set up our Max account.
Mm.
So I'm doing Friends. But actually, before I even start talking about that, I want to talk about something super cool that I did that's way more interesting than a show that you've all seen a million times. I was invited to see a screening of Blazing Saddles in at the Maple Theater by a friend who rented out the theater. And it's one of my all-time favorite movies. I've seen it absolutely over 100 times for sure, but I've never seen it in the movie theater. And I gotta say, it was so much fun. Like, I really hope that my friend does this again in the future because, you know, it was a great, great time. There was plenty of people in the theater that had never seen it before.
What?
And,
I would love to have seen
one
that.
of my girlfriends that was with me had never seen it. And
Oh
a
my
couple of
gosh.
And I
That
mean,
that's the show right there, is watching people's reactions
oh,
to what they're seeing on that
and
screen.
the very beginning, when it all starts out, and you do hear some, a little bit of. Most of us are expecting it, and it's just it was a lot of
Oh, that's
fun. I was
interesting.
really we had a great time, and I thought that everyone would appreciate the fact that. I mean, I'll just tell you, like, we owned a bootleg copy of it when I was like in 3rd grade, and my brother and I watched it on a daily basis, and it was a distorted video, but we were fine with it. We didn't care. We're like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched it over and over again. I didn't understand more than half of it.
Yeah.
And as I slowly grew up, I'd start to remember lines from the movie and be like, oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah. Well,
But,
so
so
I
fun.
just want to throw out one little fun little anecdote about Blazing Saddles. Is that, do you know what got that movie in the most trouble when it was produced? Do you guys know about this?
No.
Not
'Cause
the
there's
sheriff's.
There's
line.
100 things that you could point to that are
Sure.
horrendous about that movie that
The
could have gotten
beans?
in trouble. No, well, the beans was the most controversial thing, but no, it was the horse getting
Yeah.
punched.
Oh,
I remember
yeah,
that.
that's-
I remember reading that.
The horse getting punched by Mongo.
Alex
Uh,
Karras. Yeah.
By Alex Karras, almost caused them having to reproduce the entire movie. They got in
Okay.
big trouble with that.
Yeah, that makes
Oh,
a
she grew
lot of
up with
sense.
the Betamax 1 movie.
Well, Marcy, tell me when your friend has Porky's at the Maple
I actually was going to suggest The Jerk to do,
Oh.
to
I
bring The
love The
Jerk
Jerk.
back. I did actually get to see that in the theater, but I thought that this panel would appreciate the fact that I got to, finally see that movie on the big screen, and it was a big screen.
Yeah.
It was
that'd be
it was a fun night.
You know,
That's
great. So
the slice of life columnist Neil Rubin does a once a month thing at the Maple where it's like a classic film, Casablanca,
Oh,
or How Green Was My Valley, whatever the heck it is going. And then they talk about the movie. I thought that's what you were saying, that's where you saw it, but you had an actual friend who rented out the whole
he
theater.
rented
I
it
need
out.
friends like yours.
Right. It was a lot of fun. I did notice that they do a mystery night at the Maple Theater where you don't know what movie you're going to see until it starts.
Okay.
I did
wow.
see
That's interesting.
a board for that. Sounded interesting.
Okay.
But So back to Friends, the sitcom. It's
I'd rather talk
it's
about Blazing
streaming
Saddles.
on Max. It's super funny. It
We're
has a
actually
lot of
going
big
back to
stars in
that.
it. Yeah, I got to talk about it for a little bit because I thought I'd try and bring you some information that possibly you don't know. It is 10 seasons. There were 236 episodes, 5,192 minutes, 86 and a half hours for you to
Oh.
binge it from start to finish, which is just over 3.5 days if you take no breaks. I am bringing it up also for the fact that the Friends experience is coming to my town, which is our town, except for John. Where are you calling in from?
I live in like the suburbs of Boston.
Okay, nice. Well, maybe this will
Yeah.
come to your town too, but the
can
Friends
only hope.
experience allows you to pay for a ticket that gets you about an hour in this recreated Friends experience. It's got the coffee shop, the perk, whatever, the cafe perk, whatever it's called, Central Perk. It's got Monica's apartment and Rachel's apartment. It's got Joey and Chandler's apartment. And you sit on the couch. You can dance in the fountain. You can do all these things and take pictures. And honestly, that sounds amazing to me. So I'm super excited
I
to go
get
to
that.
that.
That sounds like fun
That's kind of
for
fun,
a fan
right?
of the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have a feeling that Jeff will make his
Classic.
way over there too. I think he's going to probably do it. Have you done it already?
No, we bought tickets. We couldn't get the same day because of when the kids are around, but the and we bought the photo package, which
You
is
did
20
buy the photo. I
which
knew
is
you
yeah,
would.
which is $25,
I heard
and they'll
Jeff
take
was
a
kicked
picture
out
of
of the
you.
fountain.
They'll
Jeff
take
was kicked out of the
professional.
fountain.
Well, I have to
Mar-
say, I'm not
Marcy's
being
mom's
snobbish
phone.
here. I promise you, I'm not being snobbish. I was just raising kids during the heyday. I never saw a single episode, a full episode.
I remember you telling me
Then
that,
I'm
though.
talking. Then you have listen. You should.
It's a
You
great,
can go
great
back
show.
now.
Great
Then
show.
hush
Whatever
up, and
I-
listen, hush up and listen to Marcy's review. Go ahead,
I'm
Marcy.
listening.
Okay. So do you know what it's about, right, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got
Overprivileged white
Jennifer
people in New
Aniston,
York.
Lisa Kudrow, Courtney Cox, Matthew Perry, David Schwimmer, Matt LeBlanc, 6 friends that really are very funny, physically, verbally. They do a great job. The writers are awesome, and these actors are amazing. We know that they're like some of the most highest paid sitcom actors ever. What else? Oh, another thing. There's a musical out there, a parody that I also saw, which is hilarious. I drove to Kalamazoo to go see this. Highly recommend. I think it's in Vegas right now. If my brother will tell me if I'm correct, but I'm pretty sure that's where I first heard about it. Insane, hilarious. What else did I want to tell you about it? I'm not really going to talk. You guys already know everything. So, Bob, 10 seasons. So
Yeah, you gotta
you'll
watch it,
always have
Bob.
something to watch for so long. You don't even have to think about it. You've got 236 episodes of Friends. You will thank me later. It is just funny, warm,
Nice
and I don't know.
What were the
tons of-
years? When did it start and when did it end?
1994 to 2004.
Okay.
So it's almost 20 years that it's been over. But I don't know,
Okay.
it still stands. I mean, I can
So-
sit down and watch a rerun any
They
day.
all look good except not LeBlanc. Who's the guy?
Oh, yeah,
Chandler.
you just reminded
Perry.
me.
Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew,
He's got a
Matthew
tough
Perry
go.
was like 5 seconds from dying from basically drug and alcohol
Yeah.
abuse.
Yeah.
So the fact that he looks as good as he does look.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he is doing well with his book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. So he's, promoting this big book that he talks about. He definitely had a huge drug and alcohol problem when taping Friends. They did do a reunion not too long ago where they all came back to talk about the years being together. I call it the one with the plastic surgery.
Mm.
I'm sorry, but that was so disappointing. I did not.
Oh, well,
Lisa
who had
Kudrow
plastic
looked-
surgery?
All of them, but Lisa Kudrow.
Really?
And I would say, I don't know if Matt LeBlanc, maybe Matt LeBlanc, but for sure, Lisa
Matt LeBlanc
Kudrow.
totally looked like you would expect
He's-
somebody. He was
Okay.
a little bigger. He was.
That was-
he looked
Lisa
perfectly. He
Kudrow
looked
looks
great
good, though.
and normal.
She looked great. She looked
Lisa
to me,
Kudrow looked good. Yeah.
she did. Like she's aging gracefully. I thought
So-
she looked great. But
so-
the other
An-
ones,
Aniston and Cox did something to their faces.
Yeah.
so did Schwimmer.
Oh. Schwimmer
Matthew
did
Perry
too.
was-
Okay.
Yeah, Schwimmer looks.
And
a
Schwimmer,
little-
yeah, he looks pretty plastic. Anyway. No
yeah,
judgment.
I was gonna comment about how I watched a documentary about the casting of Friends, which is a really fascinating way they casted it. Basically, David Schwimmer was selected before they even started the casting process.
It was
And he
written
was
for
like-
him.
It was written for him, and he
Yeah.
was the anchor friend. And then they built around him with the chemistry about who was going to, basically, test well with David Schwimmer. And if you look at this documentary, I can find the link for you guys. It's on YouTube, but it's they ran these guys through the ringer. I mean, it was rough getting casted on Friends. You were up against thousands of people.
Wow.
That's
Well, they
crazy.
did a great job.
Yeah.
When I actually rewatched the show, because I watched it when it was on, it was like kind of everyone watched it. It was like that Thursday night Seinfeld, so you definitely watched it.
Correct.
I used to like Chandler. I thought he was funny. Ross, to me, when I watch it again, is one of the only characters who I laugh at and I think is still funny because he's like silly and ridiculous, and he's as an actor just plays it really well.
Yep.
That like the humor isn't stale almost. Like his character still makes me laugh. And a lot of the other ones, like Chandler's jokes, I'm like, they're kind of cringy. Phoebe's just almost too weird. Everyone's almost being too like snippy, and the jokes are like too of the time. But I don't know, his character is just kind of so ridiculous that like, I don't know, it holds up, I think, out of that cast.
I think Matt LeBlanc's character is the funniest. Like when I re-listen to it, he's the one I find Ross over the years to be so annoying.
He's
See,
annoying.
I hear that too, but I like it. I don't know what it is.
When I watched Friends the first time, like when it was originally on, I think the first few seasons, the first season I think was one of the funniest. Though when I rewatched the first season, the writing is weird to me now. Just how on the nose and aware they were that they were being clever. If you I don't know, just the way Monica would talk, their rhythms were not natural to me if you rewatch it. And but there was like a middle part. There was a middle part of Friends where I stopped watching. And then I think the middle seasons to me where it got bad. And then I think they fixed it when they made Monica and Chandler back together. The last few seasons I think actually got better. If you watch Lisa Kudrow's character, Kudrow actually got fired from Frasier. She didn't steal. She wasn't stolen. But if you watch her character, she's so different in the beginning, and towards the end is actually a horrible person. If you rewatch the show, like she causes like a lot of the issues. If you like her behavior and her it's a really weird character. I think Jennifer Aniston's pretty consistent throughout and adorable throughout. And I like Courtney Cox throughout it as well. Chandler I agree with you on that. His character didn't wear as well. And honestly, if you were to ask me, I still think he should have ended up with Janice. Like, I don't think he should have ended up with Monica.
Oh my
God.
Oh, God. I mean, I'm just going to have to disagree on lots of this stuff right now. For one, he absolutely needed
Yeah, it's talking about General Hospital now.
Well, I don't want to take up too much time with Friends, but it's, I don't know.
All right.
It's
Just enough.
definitely worth Bob watching 236 episodes starting tonight.
That'll never happen, but I will check out some of it.
All right. Well, check it out. Check it out. It's all good. All right. Let's move on to another thing. Let's talk about. Oops. No. Hang on. I got to do the right way. Let's talk about The Founder, which is Michael Keaton's other best movie.
I agree with you entirely, Jeff. So listen, Michael Keaton just continues to star and just shine in pretty much everything he does, especially in the second half of his career now. The Founder is a movie that I actually watched the first time on a Delta Airlines flight. I'd never even heard of it before. But now it's become kind of pop culture. There's a number of scenes, including one scene in particular that is now played in business schools and played, for sales teams about talking about, you don't know what business you're in, Ray Kroc. which is a really interesting
Oh
part
yeah,
of the
is
movie.
that with BJ Novak?
Yes, exactly.
The real estate part?
The real estate part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not in the burger business. You're in the real estate business. There's a couple of really great lessons that come out of the Founder. But let me just talk right away about the casting, because I just have to say, Michael Keaton, Nick Offerman, Laura Dern, BJ Novak, John Carroll Lynch. I mean, these are all just like amazing actors that have been in so many things that I respect. And when you get these ensemble casts that get together for these low budget movies, this movie was only produced for $7 million. So you're not getting, there's no CGI, there's no action, nothing's blowing up in this movie, except for the McDonald brothers' careers. But this is a traditional biopic that they styled after The Social Network, which is to say, it was a harsh view, but a very realistic view of the story about how Ray Kroc, the unvarnished truth about how he essentially stole this business from these local yokels out in California, who'd come up with a system that was just brilliant. And Ray Kroc, just outmaneuvers these guys right from the beginning. He sees what this is, and piece by piece, little by little, he outmaneuvers them into stealing this business. The one thing I'll just say at the very end, one of the final scenes where they actually have the deal in the lawyer's office where they sign over rights to the actual McDonald's name over to Ray Kroc. There is a part of the discussion about how the McDonald's brothers are due royalties permanently based on international sales of McDonald's. That fact is argued. If you look that up, there's a lot of people that say that that's not true, that never happened, that was never part of the agreement. I don't know, but to me, having a royalty percentage of international sales of McDonald's sounds pretty good. So I'd be curious to know really what was the truth in that. Another interesting thing about this is that you guys will find this interesting. Guess who distributed The Founder? What company?
Wendy's.
I won't make you guess. It was our friend Harvey Weinstein. And right. So listen, I mean, he say what you want about Weinstein, but the Weinstein Company was very good at identifying films that it would take under its wing for distribution rights, and it did. It paid another $7 million for the film's distribution rights. The film grossed $24 million internationally, but really it's done way more it's on Amazon right now, Amazon Prime, and it's done way more in distribution rights. So it's had a good run since it was produced in 2015, which is pretty good. Have you guys seen the movie? You guys all know?
No,
Yes.
I saw it.
2 times.
I love this movie. It's one of those movies you can watch over and over again.
That's exactly right. And so I said in the beginning, I find myself coming back to shows and movies. I don't know why that is right now. I just, for whatever reason, I'm resistant to get into something brand new. And this is one of these movies. I don't even know how many times I've seen it, but I feel like every time I watch it, I learn something new, or there's some little detail that they point out about Ray Kroc or one of the stories. It's a series of anecdotes essentially about these brothers who are just who don't understand big business, and anecdotes about how savvy Ray Kroc is and basically what a bastard he is, as he's willing to do whatever it takes, and they talk about that. So it's an interesting movie. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. One other interesting thing of note is that the entire movie is produced in Georgia, which is interesting because it's supposed to all be produced in California, and you have this whole California vibe of the first McDonald's franchise and getting out there, and there's this whole scene of him driving his Studebaker or whatever the heck it was, all the way from Illinois out to California. But The fact is, it was produced right outside of Atlanta in Georgia. So I always find little details like that about where shows are produced and how they do it. I always find that fascinating. But this is a very well told story. It's very well written. It's acted beautifully with Michael Keaton and the ensemble cast around it. I think it has some really great lessons, business and otherwise, about just being human and being taken advantage of. So if you haven't seen it, or if you're just interested in seeing something again that is interesting, that you'll learn something new every time you watch it, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it.
So
Great review, Ronald.
I just want to add that I worked at a quick service restaurant company, and some of the people that work there used to work at McDonald's. So I asked them about the founder, and you mentioned that they portray Ray Kroc as cruel and manipulative, and he took this business. So I had two reactions from different people. Some people say it was too cruel, and some people say it wasn't cruel enough. Like they didn't like that. He was way worse. It's like they try and downplay all that as their thing.
So I used to be I was a resident of Illinois for 10 years, and I can just tell you this: that the McDonald's global headquarters is in Illinois, in the Chicagoland area, and the sentiment in Chicago is that it was Ray Kroc's wife who was the good one, and who gave away all the money and was incredibly charitable, gave away almost his entire fortune to charity. And that Ray was not a nice man. That's the sentiment in Chicago. But
so does Keaton play him as an asshole?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. He plays him as a conniving, just absolutely soulless bastard.
Oh, okay. I'm going to check that out.
But also, it's an interesting thing. You watch the movie and then you can have a discussion about it, because he does give them exactly what he wants. It's not like they don't make millions of dollars.
That's true.
They do. They make millions
Jeff's
of
right.
dollars.
They do.
So, I mean, is it then, if he paid millions of dollars and then was able to turn that into $1 billion thing, which he tried to get them to be a part of, at least in the movie, right? They didn't want to because they couldn't see it. And so he gave them millions, which is exactly what they wanted, and then he turned it into a thing. So does that make him horrible in that way? It's so
he just outflanked guys who weren't prepared to do business with him. One other thing of note that is inspirational for those of us who are a little bit older is that Ray Kroc did not even know the name McDonald until he was 52 years old.
He didn't own it.
No, he never even set foot in the McDonald's franchise, the first one, until he was 52 years old.
Yeah, he was like a traveling salesman. He was selling ice cream makers, and he was like mildly successful.
And they're breaking down in McDonald's all over the world.
So those of you in your 40s and 50s who think it's all past you, Ray Kroc built a multi-billion-dollar global empire in his 50s.
That's I'm about to do that. So buckle up, everyone.
Crossing the streams, baby.
Crossing the streams, baby. Let's kind of keep in the same vein. Let's talk about Air, a story of greatness. John Sullivan's going to take us through this. I've seen this as well.
Yeah, so this is almost like a similar movie. It's sort of the origin stories of a company that's famous now, that we all sort of recognize, but back in the day it was sort of, could have gone either way, whether we would know what it is now. If Ray Kroc doesn't find those McDonald's guys, are there McDonald's on every side of the road? Like, a lot of stuff kind of has to happen. So this is the big story about how Nike, back in the day, won the sponsorship deal with Michael Jordan to basically make the Air Jordans. Because Nikes weren't cool. Like, ultimately Adidas was cool because all the rappers were wearing Adidas. So this era of kind of sports right now, like 80s, 90s, especially the NBA, I think is just very interesting. And I think a lot of the content coming out of here is interesting. Like, there's stuff coming out about Rodman now. There's documentaries coming out about Rodman. There was that Michael Jordan documentary if you guys saw it, it was really good.
I did see that.
There was one about Shaq on HBO, which was pretty good. That was like 4 episodes. So all this stuff I just think is very interesting. So this is Ben Affleck directed this. He also stars in it. He plays Phil Knight, who's the Nike CEO, who's kind of strange. You know, it's in Portland, Oregon, or however you say it. Matt Damon stars in it. So he's kind of like this marketing guy who finds these high schoolers to try to get these shoe deals with. And it's funny because it's like based in the 80s and 90s, and all the stars they use are kind of guys from that era. It's like Matt Damon, Jason Bateman, Chris Tucker, one of the Wayans brother, Marlon Wayans is in it. So it's like a lot of these actors who are kind of from that era who they use. And it's the whole story basically of how they court Michael Jordan, because he basically wants Adidas. He doesn't even want to listen to Nike. And it's Matt Damon basically comes up with this strategy to steal him from Adidas, get him to start wearing Nikes. And it's the whole story. And it's done really well. And it's kind of, you know, if you kind of like the origin stories of companies, again, there's not much in terms of CGI or anything like that. It's very story driven. The acting is great. Matt Damon does a very good job. You know, he doesn't look good in it. He must have put on like 30 or 40 pounds. He looks like a schlub. He's never dressed well. And it's based off a true character. Like all these guys in the movie play real characters, and everything's based on truth. So I enjoyed every second of it. And it's interesting. I think all these studios now, Netflix, whatever, come out with movies. And I think they come up with so many that like rarely do I see where I'm like, oh, they did that one really well. This was an Amazon Prime movie that came out on Amazon Prime that I thought was done really well. Like,
Air was an Amazon Prime movie. So
No,
Yes.
no. Air did get released in the theater, but it was quickly put onto Prime as well.
but isn't it done by Prime?
It may be an Amazon Studios thing.
So I think yes. So it is Amazon Studios. I don't know if it went directly to Prime, but it's on Prime now. You can watch it.
Because I keep hearing so many good things, and you loved it. Everybody I know who's seen it loves it, but it completely tanked at the box office. It did nothing. Like $20 million or something.
Then that's marketing.
Yeah.
It must have been marketing. I can't wait to see it, and I heard it was great.
Jerry loved this movie as well. And like I said, I was going to talk about it. This movie is so great. It really is great. And you guys all know I'm not like a sports guy, but I wouldn't consider this. I don't think of this as sports movie any more than The Founder is a food movie, right? I mean,
Right.
And so this is a fascinating tale, like John said, about the thing that we all just take for granted now, but the origin of how it got there. And this is not even a story about Michael Jordan. I mean, the real star of the Jordan family in this movie is his mom, played by Viola Davis, who's amazing. Ben Affleck, I think, wears a fat suit, John. I think I read that. Affleck acts.
No, Matt Damon wears a fat suit.
I Matt Damon, I mean.
Right.
Ben Affleck wears a crazy wig. Matt Damon acts his ass off in this movie. You walk away from this movie going, holy cow, did Matt Damon act the living hell out of that movie. He is so good in this movie. There is a scene where he's pitching the concept, right? So you got to keep in mind, like Nike at this time is in third place. It's like the third shoe. They're about 5 seconds away from being out of the entire basketball line of shoes because they can't get anyone to want to wear a Nike. Can you imagine that?
They were a running sneaker because they were a running sneaker and running wasn't a big thing. It was jogging wasn't even a big thing yet. So they were like track and field. They had like Bruce Jenner as at the time, like they had like Olympians and stuff like that. Nobody in basketball wore it. Everyone was Converse and Adidas. That was it.
Crazy.
So Matt Damon, and I can't remember the name of the guy who developed the shoe, which became the Air Jordan, but he died, like I think just before this movie came out. But they're like the two heroes of the story. So Damon's character in real life, this is a real life character, it comes up with the idea of let's blow the whole budget on one person and just go after Jordan. They gave him like $250,000. They're like, we're just going to go after Jordan. And like he figures out And then the whole concept of tailoring a shoe to the athlete, not just having an athlete wear your shoe. That was a complete reversal of everything. And there's a scene in this movie where Matt Damon is pitching the concept of why the Jordan family should trust them with this. And during this scene, they're flash forwarding and they're using real clips of Jordan and stuff and going through all the real things that happened when you flash forward decades ahead. It was one of the greatest scenes, I think, of like anything I've ever seen. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. I don't even know if you ever see the character who plays Michael Jordan's face.
So I was going to ask you that. I don't think you ever see the actor's face who plays Michael Jordan, because I think people would be a little
Just his feet.
back of his head, stuff like that.
He's like there, but it's like, but you don't really see him. And
the other thing that's kind of crazy about it is everyone sort of assumes Jordan was like this #1 pick. He was the 3rd pick, and even people didn't know he was going to be good. Right. And this guy sees something. He's like, watch him in these clips. He's so calm. He's like one of the greatest athletes. Like he's so competitive, and like he sort of sees it. This guy sees it in him when no one else really did. So like we have to target this guy and get him. And it's like has to be one of the biggest payoffs in history, because I mean, Air Jordan now is worth billions. I mean, from this one crazy idea that they sort of concocted this one weekend.
So one of the greatest scenes, and again, you never know what they just say versus how it actually plays out. But there's a scene where the mom goes, all right, we're going to go with Nike. But there was a typo, something you accidentally left off the contract, his percentage of every shoe sold.
His percentage. Ooh.
And they go, and Damon's like, well, he gets $250,000 a year, and that's great because that'll be for sure. And she's like, no. And then Affleck's character, who was the CEO of Nike, they finally concede. They're like, all right, we'll do it. We'll do it. He goes, and then basically they're like, he's like, what can that possibly mean? The most we've ever sold is $3 million worth of shoes in a year, right? So they agree to this new deal, which is a new precedent. So there's like everything that the Nike people did, they really pushed the limits on re-changing how the entire endorsement thing works with these shoes. They give him the thing, they give him a percentage. They never say what the percentage was exactly, but they sold $160 million worth, I think they said, of Air Jordans the first year. Now in passive income, you know how you go, you should get a house and rent it out. Yeah. Right. He makes $400 million a year in passive income from Air Jordans. Jeez. I mean, it's insane. It's a great story. I mean, it's I think the problem is, and the reason it probably didn't blow up at the box office and all that, it's an amazing made-for-TV movie. Okay, is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But it is it's well worth the time. You definitely go watch it. Definitely go watch it. If you like sports, if you like anything, it's just even just how they crafted the shoe and
I'll definitely see that.
And then Jeff, I have just lastly, I'll just say this. Like, I think a lot of people like this content because back in the 80s and 90s, I felt like a lot of people watched the NBA because it was like big and it was on TV. And you would watch Michael Jordan because, like, I wasn't a big basketball fan, but I would watch it because it was on. And, like, the Shaq thing, too, I'm like, I remember watching these games. I remember kind of where I was. And now I don't think, like, everything's so fractured. Like, I don't think everyone's watching an NBA Finals game. They'll watch the Super Bowl maybe. So it's like there's less of, like, a connection to, I don't know, stuff now. Where that era, I don't know. There was something about, like, the NBA was wild back then, and it was like everyone was watching those games and Michael Jordan. So like relive the content and see kind of behind the story stuff now. I don't know. I think it resonates, especially with people like near our age.
Yeah. Yeah. So can I just point out, I mentioned a moment
Lee.
ago that we lived in Chicago and we lived in Chicago in the 90s at the height of the Jordan era. And I have to absolutely reinforce what you just said. It was unlike any sports experience in any city. Like, think about here in Detroit, who was the most godlike person you could remember as a Detroit athlete? and maybe that's a good conversation for a different time. But like I know Miguel Cabrera started getting
Maybe
to
like
that
an
level at some
Iserman.
point.
Steve
Iserman.
Eiserman. I was going to say Steve
Iserman.
Eiserman.
Maybe
Or
Iserman.
Al Kaline, maybe.
Maybe, but
Dennis
I
Rodman.
don't think you guys can fully understand how controlled the city of Chicago was entirely by Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I
like,
agree. I agree.
like
It was
the
incredible.
it was we'll talk about Friends and primetime must see TV. Michael Jordan was must see television every single night of the week that they played.
And you must go watch Air. All right, let's move on.
See what he did there? That's the segue.
Let's keep it going with late life. Chien-ming
This is a great
Wang
story. I won't take up a lot of time here. I know we've been doing. This has been a great episode.
Sal.
So anyway, this is a story about Chien-ming Wang. He was a stud baseball pitcher for the New York Yankees. He had two of the best 2 years. He had more wins in those 2 years than any pitcher in both American League and National League. In 2006 and 2007, he won 19 games each year for the New York Yankees. And that's kind of how the documentary starts, but then it goes back in time. He's from Taiwan, and it kind of goes over a little bit of his childhood, how he just loved to throw the ball, and talking to his mom and dad, who obviously couldn't even speak English. It's all subtitled, but you kind of just hear about his childhood. And he becomes this stud pitcher for the New York Yankees. And then he hurts his ankle or something. He's running in home. They must have been playing a National League team, because pitchers don't normally hit or run the bases for that matter. But he gets hurt coming into home plate. And then he also hurt his shoulder. And basically just almost like a Mark Friedrich kind of story. He just sucks after that. And he does. He starts giving up hits, starts giving up home runs, never really comes back after those two injuries. And he kind of bounces around Major League Baseball because teams are picking him up thinking that they could get that greatness, that magic he had for a couple of years. So these teams take a chance on him. So he was with Toronto, and he went back with the Yankees for a little bit. Then he went to Washington. Then he ends up in Seattle, and basically just fizzles out in about 2012, 2013. He's out of the league, and he goes and plays like Double-A, and they show clips of him playing Double-A. And it's just, for a baseball player that was at that level, he's just now starting back over again, trying to get a second chance. Doesn't really work out that well. He has a decent season at Double-A. And then he takes like a year off, and he goes, he finds this Billy O'Connor baseball school in like Tampa, and just goes down there. He helps a lot of professional baseball players, one of the best instructors in all of baseball. And he goes down there and spends a whole year with this guy, like 6-7 months, just training and trying to strengthen up that shoulder so he can, throw that sinker like he used to, get that fastball up to 93, 94. And these guys, just that part of it alone was really interesting. All the techniques they were making him do, the workout, the exercise, almost like a Rocky. I mean, if you had a theme song to Rocky during some of these clips, it was awesome. And then, he makes it all the way back, and he makes it on the Kansas City Royals roster. He has a phenomenal Grapefruit League and throws big time shutout innings, and it's almost like he's back. He comes up, has a decent season for Kansas City. It wasn't nothing like spectacular, but it was just to come back after all them years. This was in 2016, and make a comeback, get on a major league roster, and have, I think he pitched like 59 innings that year. Had some success. The team wasn't really that good. And then after that, just kind of gets let go, then following year, doesn't make it, doesn't quite have it. And that's just kind of a story of adversity, perseverance. Just a really
He kept going, though.
Really kept going. And it's a really, I mean, I just went through it pretty quickly, but you'll see a lot of good. There's this one part where that school that I was telling you about, he was going out on the road to pitch, and he would do this one drill where he would just throw the baseball into this, like almost like a canvas. That one of the guys found out where he was staying and set this up in his hotel room using the bed. Like, he flipped the bed up so that Chien-ming Wang could just throw into the like just practicing his arm to get it strengthened, and it's a really, really cool story about. And again, he doesn't come back and win the World Series. He just comes back and has a decent 1 year to say, hey, he came back. It's almost like he wanted to show the Yankees.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, for 2 years, he won 19 games.
Man, that's tough to do.
And in Taiwan, he is an absolute megastar there. And I didn't know this, but Taiwan is like the size of Baltimore, Maryland, and they have 24 million people, which I can't wrap my head around that. But I don't know if that's true. You might have to Google that. But that's what they say in the movie, in the documentary. But anyway, but he's a megastar in Taiwan. Just a really, really cool story. I highly recommend it if you're a sports fan or just a fan of never giving up.
That's awesome.
Cool. That sounds really good.
Yeah,
A little
What
bit
is-
like
what is
Jeremy
it on?
Lin.
That on Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix.
How
Very
long
good.
is it? Like an hour and a half?
hour 30 minutes.
I
Very
think that
cool.
would go over well in my house.
Yeah, you would really.
That's a good one. I got ball players.
Really interesting story.
It's
Thanks, Sally.
Yeah, that was
Thanks,
good.
Sally. All right,
I'm
we got
interested
one
in
more.
it.
I mean, except for Friends and the Founder, somehow we ended up with a very sports themed show. We got Big George Foreman.
Big George.
Oh, I've got the big George Foreman in my.
Can't imagine who's going to review this.
Well, okay. As inspiring as the Chien-ming Wang story was, I'm glad I'm going last because I didn't want to color the whole show by giving such a horrible review to a movie that I desperately wanted to love. You know what? George Foreman has one of the most compelling human stories of all time, not just boxing or sports. He's just a compelling figure coming out of poverty with absolutely nothing, just nothing, and making the Olympics and becoming a heavyweight champion, and then losing the championship to Ali on a knockout where everybody in the world was favoring him. I don't remember the odds at that. I think Foreman was like a 6-1 favorite, which in boxing is just you're just like, I'll watch this one on TV. This is, well, Ali knocks him out and proves that he is he's not invincible, and that shook him, that rattled him. I'm condensing a lot of things here. That was the thing that shook his world up and brought him back to being that child that was raised in poverty. He didn't have the thing that he had won. That he thought that nobody loved him. He was never going to be anything ever again. But he did come back. And then that was in 1974. He lost the title to Ali. He came back and he fought again. And then 1977, he had a fight against a guy named Jimmy Young, who actually beat Ali, but they gave the decision to Ali. And he lost again in 1977. And his heart wasn't in it, which happens to fighters who get knocked out like that sometimes. And he had this experience in the locker room. And I've always heard about this, but when I saw it portrayed in the movie, I went, oh, stop, just stop. Jesus came into him at that point, and none of his handlers could calm him down. I don't care about boxing. I don't care about life. I have been transformed. And I mean, I'm not discounting people's spiritual experiences. I get it. It's just that in this movie, it's just done badly. So he goes back to his roots as a preacher and a minister. But then 10 years later, he says, you know what? I still think I got something in the tank and I want to fight again. All right. So it's all very by the numbers. Okay. Directed by the great George Tillman. Anybody ever heard of him? You'll never hear of him after this movie because he's never getting another job. You should just, this is this is the Alan Smithy of our day. Okay. Literally the only compelling actor in this whole film is Forrest Whitaker, who plays Doc Brodus, who is Foreman's trainer and mentor, and the guy who's been through him through thick and thin. He was the Angelo Dundee to Sugar Ray Leonard, all that. And it's such a okay, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and there's this strange feeling that it was meant for a TV movie. and somebody came along and said, you know what, let's try and make a few extra bucks on this. We'll have a theatrical release. Bad idea. It tanked $5.5 million. I'm going to say this, and I do not want to insult people, but I think you'll know what I'm getting at here. This movie leaned so heavily on the revival and the resurrection of George Foreman as to compare it to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And it's so thickly woven into this movie. It's like Kirk Cameron financed this thing. And, you know what I mean? It's one of it's a faith-based movie.
Really?
Nothing wrong with faith. I'm a Christian. No one will ever talk me out of that, but I don't want it shoved down my throat. And I just wanted to see a good boxing movie. Chris Davis. You ever hear? You're never going to hear from him again. By the way, spelled Khris. He plays George Foreman. The unnecessary K and H. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. He's fine.
He must be really mad. He's like, and the guy spells his name weird.
I know. The whole thing was just so off. It was just off kilter.
H.
Yeah. So I'll wrap it up by saying this. They get part of this right. They introduce the George Foreman grill part and all that stuff. And like I said, it's a very by numbers thing. You're like, oh, I remember hearing about this. And he's got 5 sons, all named George. I forget the number of them, but that's
and a daughter.
And Georgina, whatever. I don't know. So it took a hero of mine and reduced him to, it was like an episode of Seventh Heaven. Just stop.
Yeah.
There was more to this man than this, and he was a gritty man. He was not always a good man. He had his days. So he winds up, of course, winning the heavyweight title. This is true. And he wins it at age 45, the oldest heavyweight champion in history. Wow. And he wins it in Las Vegas against a guy who he has no business beating, a guy named Michael Moore. Again, portrayed by some guy, I don't know. It was a miraculous win for him. It was absolutely remarkable because he knocked him out. He knocked a man out who was 20 years his junior after getting tattooed for most of the fight, but that just kept chugging forward, and winds up winning the damn thing. Let's see, that was 1994. So what would that be? 20 years after losing it to Ali, he wins it. And and even at that point, I'm like, is this thing over yet? So I don't have to tell people don't see it because nobody saw it. You did the right thing. If it's 10 years from now when you have absolutely nothing to do, you have a case of insomnia, put it on.
Well done.
Tell us how you really feel. Give it
do
to us.
Do they mention the grills? Are the grills mentioned?
Yeah,
it's
mentioned. It's mentioned. Okay. Like I said, everything is just very rote. And we got to throw this and we got to throw that. And
I have a George Foreman grill. It's great. It's great.
I love it. I think he's wonderful. He gets all the fat out.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you a great thing to make on a George Foreman grill is George Foreman a banana, a little sugar and cinnamon banana. Oh. Thank me later.
Wow.
All right.
Doesn't it melt? You put it on the.
Don't question it. Just
don't
question it.
Side and get all goopy and.
John, this is one of those times.
Well, I would put like the skin with the skin on it. You put it in and melt the skin, then open the skin up.
The same faith that the people who made the George Foreman movie asked you to believe in, I'm asking you to believe in.
Do you know the last time?
Get a banana.
I trust you, Jeff.
The last time I used my George Foreman grill, Jesus spoke to me.
Well, go see that movie. It's he's speaking to everybody.
Speak to you again.
All right. Great show, everyone. Thank you. Thanks to our guest, John Sullivan. Tell us where we can find you these days, John. What are you on Instagram these days?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and my TikTok's been blowing up recently. So I'm Depressed Darth. I'm that guy. I used to be on Twitter, but they suspended me.
I've seen that.
So I'm on Instagram now as depressed_Darth, and then TikTok Mr. Depressed Darth. It's sort of an alternate universe Darth Vader. It's kind of like Darth Vader has the perfect lines and everything, and this is sort of like him talking on the side, the dialogue you don't hear. So it's kind of comedy, skits, memes. Check it out.
Can I ask you something real quickly, John? What is your middle name?
Smith, not L.
Okay.
I have a John L. Sullivan poster. It's an old beer
That's
poster.
all right.
Dale Deal. It's,
Okay.
yeah, it's really cool.
Definitely check out John's Depressed Darth stuff. That's how John and I met, was in London for a Rogue One Star Wars event.
Depressed Darth.
Way back when. So, all right,
cool.
Marcy, what's up? Say
What's
goodnight.
up? Say goodnight. Bye, Mom. Good night.
Didn't say goodbye to her brother. Boom.
Oh. Yeah, I'm mad
That's
at him.
that's for the friends. Bob.
Bye,
say
guys.
goodnight.
Oh, well, you can see me, the Sal and Bob show at Genetti's with my show partner, Sal, June 15th. That's another sold-out show. But prior to that, you can see me at the Dayton Funny Bone. I'm looking at the dates here. I'm sorry. I got to scroll through. The Dayton Funny Bone, June 9th through 10th with the uproariously funny Dave Landau. I'm opening for
Ooh.
Dave down there, so that'll be fun.
Awesome.
Great club, man.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to open for Dave in a decent venue. We always joke. It was always some anyway. Ron, say goodnight.
Yeah, I'm still on the ground for one more week, and then I'm back in the air for several weeks in a row. So
Where are
glad
you
to be
going
here.
now?
I'm heading to Vegas, and then I'm
Oh,
heading to
nice.
California for a little bit, and just doing.
Okay.
As I say to my wife, it's 70 and sunny in the conference room. So
Yeah.
Sal, say goodnight.
Good night, everybody. Sal and Bob Show, SalDeMille.com. We'll see you guys next time on Crossing the Streams.
See you next time.
Peace.
All right, and then I'm Jeff DeWaskin. Check out my podcast. My Kathy Garver episode's blowing up on Apple. It's Kathy was Sissy from Family Affair, if you remember
Yes.
back in the day. And then my current episode is actually really fascinating. His name's Jeff Sherman. His dad was one of the Sherman brothers. Did you ever watch the Sherman brother? We talked about this, I think, on I talked about this documentary. But his dad was like, they're the guys, the Sherman brothers are the ones that did all the music for Mary Poppins. You ever saw the movie Saving Mr. Banks?
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
Great
so-
movie.
Well, you know, BJ Novak and the other guy, BJ Novak is this guy's dad. And the real,
Spoonful
not
of
BJ
sugar.
Novak, but so they wrote Mary Poppins, Jungle Book, like every Disney song from that entire era, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, everything. And so he did a documentary. We had a long conversation. He happens to also be married to Wendy Liebman, one of my favorite comedians. So anyway, good stuff. And he wrote a lot for Boy Meets World, which is very popular. I never watched it personally, but I was just at the Comic-Con and William Daniels was there. And oh my God, everyone was coming up to Mr. Feeney. Every single person.
God, he's like 180 years old. Is
He's
he
old.
okay?
He's in his 90s. Yeah, but
Wow.
he was there with his wife, Bonnie. They were looking good. So,
Good.
but he's also the voice of Kit. That's why he got his autograph.
Mm.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody.
And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow the Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcasts, Classic Conversations, and the Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.